Hi, my name is Scott Gibson with Beneath the Surface. I'm here with Mickey Fulp of Mercenary Geologist. Mickey, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Scott. Always my pleasure.
Yeah, now I wanted to talk to you about the summer. And June, gold came down under 1,200. Is that the bottom? Have we seen the bottom?
Perhaps the bottom this year. I'm not going to say it's going to be the bottom. What we see, there's a seasonality in gold. And every summer there will be a low time. And that makes sense because what Frank Holmes calls the love trade, there is no love trade. And that really goes around major holidays. And in addition, we have the summer doldrums, so a lot of traders away. So year after year, you will see a seasonality in gold that will lead to a bottom in June, July, or August. Now, sometimes those bottoms only last a day or two, and gold pops right back up, and we saw that this June. So for me, I always try to buy gold in the summer, physical gold.
And what's your take going forward then, where that's likely the bottom for this year? What looking out 6-12 months?
That's difficult to say. I will say that the autumn is always a good time for gold because here comes the love trade. We've got Ramadan just ended, and then we've got the Indian holidays and wedding season. Then we have Christmas, so there is demand for gold this time of year. I will go back what I've said for most of the last few years, and that is that gold will end up at the end of the year higher than it started. Now that's not going to work this year, but I still expect that trend to continue next year, basically because everybody's willy-nilly printing their fiat currencies over and over again, creating more money, devaluing their currencies, and gold retains its purchasing power.
Nice. And then translating over to stocks, the gold's come up from June, little pullback in September. The stocks, a lot of them on the mining side have gone up 50 to 70%. The top quality companies,
right.
Not necessarily the juniors or the explorers, but the more advanced stage, near-term production assets, royalty companies. What can you comment on that in terms of, does that momentum continue? Do you think there's a further pullback? What's your take for the broader?
Some of my fellow analysts have called the bottom, and they said that was in June. Well, you look at the venture index, it did bottom in June. It made a nice recovery in July. It was flat mainly through August. But we've been kind of waiting for Labor Day and everybody come back to work. So what we've seen, now we'll get into this later a little bit, but the Fed has a lot to do with the price of gold. But what I would see right now is the junior business is looking better, but I think that's to be expected. Everybody comes back to work. There's some money being raised. We'll see if this has legs. I hope it does. If we sit here in November, and we will probably see each other at a show in November and do another interview. If this rally in the junior index and the stocks has some legs, we should see that reflected in November. And I think that's a very key point for us.
And generally, why is the trickle-down effect, where you see gold price start to move, then you see the majors start to move, which we have, then you see the mid-tiers, and eventually it trickles down to the juniors.
That's true. That's very true. And the show in November is the largest U.S. show going, and that is a good time for juniors because they generally have results in from at least a North American field season. They are starting to think about raising money. They're getting prepared for the first of the year in January when most of the money is being raised. So I think the end of November is going to be a key time to see which way our business is going to go, at least for the next year or so.
Well, then you bring up November. Tied in with November is potential tax loss selling. How do you expect the markets to be affected this year, especially where there may not be a lot of money made to offset the losses this year for the American investors, but for Canadians, they can actually carry their tax losses back 3 years.
And we have talked about this before, and it very much skews the market. So you go back 3 years for Canadians, and that would have been 2010, arguably the best year ever. 2009, we said, we've never seen it any better. 2010 was even better.
Yes.
So this tax loss selling is going to affect the market. Now, I would submit that every year tax loss selling, at least amongst some of the big guys in the business, occurs earlier and earlier. In fact, I've seen it already occurring this year. So we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, as an American, I'm saddled with the fact of Canadian flow-through. I'm saddled with Canadian carryback tax loss selling, but that's just what we live with. So I think that we could see a difficult tax loss season, and most of that money will come out, be pulled out and sold. Those stocks will be sold in November.
Now, speaking of stocks, what are some of the stocks out there on the gold side specifically that you like right now?
I like two stocks. I like Gold Royalties Corp, which is a royalty company, a junior royalty company that has a strategic alliance with Franco-Nevada, the 800-pound gorilla on the block, and also has a relationship with Callinan Royalties through a debt instrument. So Gold Royalties Corp is a stock I own. It is a company that sponsors my website, so I'm financially biased, but it is the only junior royalty company left now. A couple others have gotten taken out. One has got a hostile takeover bid right now. So I like this junior royalty space because they fill a niche that the big boys are not interested in, and that's small gold mines.
Gold Royalties Company is a very interesting company. It's not one that I personally own, but it's very intriguing.
And it is. It trades by appointment only. It's very tightly held, so it doesn't have a lot of liquidity. But by the same token, the insiders haven't been selling, so you don't see this this devastation that you've seen in other parts of the gold explorer and developer business. So this is a longer term play for me, and I took a royalty company on because I wanted something that was longer term and less risk than the junior explorers and developers I usually speculate in.
Right. And can you give an example of a junior explorer or developer that maybe has ounces that you like right now?
Another company I like very much, and I've covered them in the past. I don't cover them now, but I remain a very dedicated shareholder, and that's Brazil Resources, BRI on the Venture Exchange, and they are an advanced explorer, and I think soon to be developer in the gold space in Brazil. They have set this company up. It's the same management as Uranium Energy Corp, and they set this company up with the goal of becoming a mid-tier gold producer in the midterm in Brazil. So I look with distressed assets, especially in Brazil, I look for them to do a significant acquisition in the short term.
And they already have over 1 million ounces of gold.
They have mineral resource in the Gurupi Gold Belt that they purchased from Luna Gold. It's total geological mineral inventory of somewhere around 1.4 to 1.5 million ounces.
Well, and that's what I like, the smart groups out there like Alamos going out and picking up other assets on the cheap and building up their stockpile of gold in the ground. So as the price goes higher, they're going to get that value appreciation. If that's something that...
definitely. So you look at valuations of gold companies right now, you can pick up some really interesting projects with upside for somewhere about $10 an ounce in the ground. That's pretty low. So those pickings look pretty good.
Especially relative to exploration costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and those are two companies, Alamos I mentioned and Brazil, that I do not own. Yeah, you don't own Alamos, do you?
No, I do not.
Just want to get that out for a full disclaimer. But again, thanks for being with us, Mickey.
All right, thanks a lot, Scott.
Again, that's Mickey Fulp, Mercenary Geologist. My name is Scott Gibson with Beneath the Surface. Thanks for being with us.